The story of a teacher asking a janitor to solve a math problem as a joke, only to discover he is a true genius, carries a powerful message about judgment, humility, and the hidden brilliance within people who are often overlooked. It begins with a classroom setting where students and teachers alike tend to take the janitor's presence for granted, seeing him only through the lens of his uniform and duties. When the teacher decides to make light of his presence by inviting him to the board to solve a complex problem, it is initially intended as humor, a way to make the class laugh. But what follows transforms the moment into a lesson far greater than anything in the textbook. The janitor, though quiet and modest, steps forward with confidence. His background may not suggest advanced education, but what people don't realize is that intelligence and talent don't vanish just because life takes someone down a different path. Many times, individuals who appear to be in humble or unnoticed positions hold extraordinary stories and abilities. When he picks up the chalk and begins solving the problem, his movements are deliberate and precise. Every calculation flows naturally, as though he has rehearsed it countless times in his mind. Students who were laughing seconds ago now sit in silence, their eyes wide, realizing that what they are witnessing is not just an answer being written, but a stereotype being shattered. This moment highlights how society often underestimates people based on external appearances or their professions. A janitor is typically not associated with genius in mathematics, yet that assumption itself exposes the bias that many carry unconsciously. The teacher, caught off guard, begins to understand the gravity of the situation. What was meant as a joke at another person's expense has become a revelation. The janitor completes the solution flawlessly, turning what was intended to be humiliation into one of the most inspiring lessons the classroom has ever seen. Beyond the shock of the solved problem, the story carries an emotional depth rooted in the janitor's life experiences. Perhaps he once pursued higher education, but was forced to abandon his studies due to financial or family struggles. Perhaps he had been passionate about numbers since childhood, carrying his love for mathematics with him, despite the twists life presented. This makes his triumph even more moving, because it is not only about proving the teacher wrong. It is about proving that knowledge, passion, and brilliance do not fade even when life doesn't offer the chance to showcase them. The students, too, learn something profound. They see that respect must be universal, and that mocking or underestimating others is not only cruel, but foolish. The janitor becomes more than just a background figure in their daily lives. He becomes a symbol of resilience, of quiet strength, and of the idea that true worth is not measured by one's job title or social standing. For the teacher, it is a humbling reminder that authority should never be misused for ridicule, and that every person, regardless of their role, deserves dignity and recognition. The inspirational essence of this story lies in its universal truth. Greatness is often hidden in plain sight. Many people walk past others without ever realizing their stories, struggles, or talents. By the end, the janitor's actions leave the entire class reflecting on how they view people around them, and the teacher acknowledging her mistake with genuine respect. What started as a joke becomes a life-changing lesson about humility, respect, and the incredible potential that lies within everyone. Society has always had a tendency to quickly judge people by what they see on the surface, rather than who that person truly is. In this story, when a teacher calls a janitor to the front of the class and asks him to solve a math problem as a joke, it highlights the deep-rooted stereotypes and judgments that often follow people because of their occupation or appearance. The janitor, being someone who cleans the school and is rarely noticed by students or staff beyond his duties, is immediately placed in a box. Someone who must be uneducated, someone who cannot possibly solve complex problems, and someone whose worth lies only in the physical work he does. This assumption reflects a broader societal issue where certain jobs are undervalued, and the individuals performing them are judged unfairly as lacking intelligence, ambition, or talent. Yet, these judgments are often far from the truth. The scenario in the classroom is powerful because it exposes how damaging stereotypes can be, especially when they are expressed in front of young, impressionable minds. By calling the janitor to the board as a joke, the teacher unintentionally teaches students that it is acceptable to laugh at people who appear to hold less prestigious positions in life. Such moments reinforce the idea that worth is measured only by social status, money, or profession. However, the reality is that intelligence, creativity, and wisdom are not confined to titles or jobs. They are human qualities that can be found in anyone, anywhere. The janitor being judged before he even picks up the chalk is a reflection of how quickly people dismiss others without giving them a chance to show what they are capable of. What makes this point even more striking is the way stereotypes often blind us to hidden potential. The janitor may have once been a math enthusiast, a student with dreams, or even someone who had to abandon his education due to life's circumstances. None of this is visible to the teacher or the students. All they see is a man in work clothes holding a mop. This shows how shallow judgments erase the possibility of seeing the deeper truths about someone. It also highlights a dangerous cycle, when society continually underestimates people in certain roles. It discourages them from showcasing their true skills, and it keeps the world from benefiting from their hidden genius. The act of judgment in this story becomes even more important when we think about the broader implications. Many people in our everyday lives, bus drivers, cleaners, construction workers, waiters, carry untold stories, hidden talents, and remarkable wisdom. Yet because society has placed their roles in lower regard, they are dismissed as less intelligent or less valuable. This mindset robs us not only of mutual respect, but also of the opportunity to learn from these individuals. The janitor in the classroom is a symbol of all those whose brilliance has gone unnoticed simply because of a uniform or job title. Moreover, the act of stereotyping harms not only the person being judged, but also those who do the judging. The teacher, in her moment of condescension, loses an opportunity to model respect and humility to her students. She unintentionally teaches them arrogance instead of compassion, mockery instead of encouragement. It is only when the janitor surprises everyone with his intelligence that the students and teacher are forced to reflect on their assumptions. This shock reveals the true cost of stereotypes. They keep us from seeing the full humanity and potential of the people around us. The story reminds us that judgment based on stereotypes is not only unfair but also deeply unwise. When we look at someone and assume their worth, we diminish not just them, but also ourselves by limiting what we can learn and experience. The janitor being underestimated is a lesson that brilliance can wear any uniform, and potential can live in anyone's heart. It shows that every individual, regardless of their role, deserves respect, dignity, and the chance to prove themselves without the shadow of bias. This moment of judgment and its reversal is what makes the story inspiring. It pushes us to look beyond stereotypes and recognize the hidden genius that might be standing quietly in front of us. The most powerful element of this story is the shocking revelation of hidden genius that turns the entire moment upside down. When the teacher, believing it to be nothing more than a joke, calls the janitor to solve a math problem on the board. She expects laughter from her students and perhaps a moment of entertainment at his expense. What she does not anticipate is that the janitor not only understands the problem, but solves it with precision, speed, and confidence that leaves everyone stunned. This twist demonstrates how often true brilliance hides behind appearances, waiting for the right moment to shine, and how society can be blindsided when they finally realize that genius does not fit a single mold. The revelation becomes a wake-up call, forcing everyone in the room to question what they thought they knew about intelligence, value, and capability. This moment is significant because it shatters the preconceived notions that the students and teacher held about the janitor. For them, he was just a background figure, someone they might nod at in the hallway or ignore entirely. By effortlessly solving the math problem, the janitor forces everyone to recognize that they had overlooked not just his presence, but his extraordinary potential. The room, once filled with laughter at his expense, transforms into silence and awe, teaching both the teacher and the students that intelligence can exist in unexpected places. It also challenges the dangerous belief that a person's worth can be measured by their job or outward appearance. The janitor's hidden genius becomes a powerful symbol of how easily society underestimates people who do not fit the conventional picture of success. The revelation also carries emotional weight because of the impact it has on the students. Many of them may have grown up believing that only those with wealth, status, or prestige could achieve greatness. Watching the janitor demonstrate his brilliance plants a seed of inspiration, showing them that intelligence and talent can come from anywhere. For some students, this might even be a life-changing realization, encouraging them to look at people differently and to never underestimate someone simply because of their role. It also teaches them humility, that one should never assume superiority over another person without truly knowing them. The janitor's unexpected display of genius becomes a life lesson not just in math, but in humanity and respect. From the janitor's perspective, this moment is equally powerful. Perhaps for years he has been underestimated, dismissed, and treated as invisible by those around him. By solving the problem, he not only validates his own worth, but also reclaims a sense of pride and identity that had been hidden beneath the label of his occupation. This act is not just about showing his intelligence, but also about challenging the very system of judgment that put him in that position in the first place. His genius, once hidden, is now undeniable, and the look of shock on the teacher's face symbolizes the collapse of prejudice in the face of truth. For him, this revelation may not be about revenge or proving others wrong, but about finally being seen for who he truly is. The teacher's reaction is equally telling. What began as a moment of ridicule turns into deep embarrassment and regret as she realizes the gravity of her actions. The joke she thought would elevate her authority instead exposes her own ignorance. The janitor's hidden genius teaches her a lesson she could never find in textbooks, that humility and respect are just as important as knowledge, and that one should never mock another person's abilities. Her shock becomes a mirror for the audience, forcing us to reflect on the times we may have underestimated someone in our own lives. This revelation also carries a universal message that genius is not limited to classrooms, offices, or laboratories. It can be found in anyone, from a janitor to a driver, from a shopkeeper to a waiter. By exposing his brilliance, the janitor reminds us that every human being has layers we cannot see, talents that might never have the chance to surface if they are continually overshadowed by prejudice. This hidden genius, once revealed, not only changes how others view the janitor, but also challenges the entire community to rethink how they view intelligence and success. In the end, the shocking revelation becomes the centerpiece of the story, because it overturns expectations and delivers the core lesson: that people are far more than the labels placed upon them. The janitor's brilliance serves as proof that greatness cannot be measured by uniform or occupation, and that those who are underestimated often have the most to teach us. It reminds us to look beyond the surface, to never dismiss someone based on assumptions, and to always remain open to the possibility that genius may be hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting for the right moment to shine. The story's third powerful point centers on the lessons of humility and respect that emerge after the janitor demonstrates his unexpected brilliance. What begins as a setup for humiliation turns into a profound teaching moment, not just for the students, but also for the teacher, and even the wider audience who hears about the event. The janitor's ability to solve a complex math problem, something that the teacher never imagined possible, forces everyone in the room to reevaluate their behavior and the way they perceive people based on their role or appearance. It highlights how often individuals are judged by the uniform they wear or the job they hold, rather than the depth of their knowledge, skills, or personal history. In this way, the janitor becomes a living lesson in humility, one that cannot be ignored. For the students, this experience becomes unforgettable because it directly confronts their biases. Young minds are impressionable, and many of them likely shared the teacher's assumption that the janitor had no business stepping into a math classroom, let alone solving an advanced problem on the board. When the janitor proves them all wrong, the shock transforms into a lesson that they will carry forward into adulthood. They learn that respect should not be conditional, given only to those in positions of authority or status, but should be extended to everyone. Humility means recognizing that wisdom and brilliance may come from the least expected places. This realization will influence how these students interact with others in their lives, perhaps making them more compassionate, more open-minded, and less likely to dismiss someone because of superficial judgments. The teacher, on the other hand, faces an even more personal and painful lesson. By calling the janitor up as a joke, she assumes superiority, believing herself to be beyond reproach. But when her expectations are shattered, she is left standing in the same position as her students, forced to face her own prejudice. Her laughter turns into regret, her confidence into embarrassment. In that moment, humility becomes not just a virtue she preaches, but a truth she is forced to live. She realizes that her authority as a teacher does not excuse her from respecting others, and that in trying to belittle the janitor, she inadvertently belittled herself. Her experience is a powerful reminder that respect and humility must exist in every interaction, regardless of one's social standing or professional role. For the janitor, his quiet dignity throughout the ordeal is perhaps the most striking element of this point. He does not need to gloat, boast, or humiliate those who mocked him. His calm and confident solution to the problem speaks louder than any words could. His behavior reflects true humility because he allows his actions to define him rather than his response to disrespect. This is an important reminder that humility is not weakness, but strength. The janitor shows that respect for oneself is as vital as respect for others, and that the best way to dismantle prejudice is not through anger or revenge, but through undeniable truth and self-assurance. His character sets an example for everyone present, teaching them that greatness often lies in grace under pressure. The ripple effects of this lesson go far beyond the classroom. Imagine the conversations afterward, the students telling their families, the teacher reflecting on her actions, the janitor walking away with renewed pride. Each of these individuals carries forward a new understanding of what it means to treat others with dignity. humility becomes more than just a lesson in words. It becomes etched into their lives through this shared experience. The moment forces a cultural shift within that environment, encouraging people to think twice before they mock or underestimate someone again. It plants the seed of change, demonstrating that respect must be unconditional and humility must guide how we approach others. On a broader level, this point reminds us all that humility and respect are essential to building a just and compassionate society. Too often, people in positions of power or privilege forget that every individual has a story, a background, and hidden abilities. By learning to treat others with kindness, and by recognizing the worth of every person, we create communities that are stronger, more inclusive, and more supportive. The janitor's brilliance becomes the spark that ignites this realization, turning what could have been a cruel joke into one of the most valuable lessons in human respect. Ultimately, this third point emphasizes that humility and respect are not optional virtues. They are necessary for growth, understanding, and harmony in life. The janitor's unexpected genius compels everyone in the story to embrace humility, acknowledge their mistakes, and move forward with a deeper sense of respect for others. The message is clear: never underestimate anyone. Never mock those who seem different, and always carry humility in your heart, because the person you dismiss today may be the very one who teaches you the greatest lesson of your life. The fourth point revolves around breaking stereotypes and challenging the deeply ingrained assumptions that society often people based on their roles, class, or appearance. The janitor in this story represents someone who is automatically categorized as uneducated or less capable simply because of his occupation. When the teacher calls him to the front of the class as a joke, the entire scenario is built upon this stereotype, that a janitor has no place in a math classroom, that his hands are meant only for cleaning rather than solving complex equations. But when he effortlessly solves the problem and proves his intellect, he shatters this stereotype into pieces, leaving everyone stunned. His actions force both the teacher and the students to confront the narrowness of their own assumptions, and to realize that intelligence, talent, and brilliance are not limited to certain professions, skin colors, or social classes. Breaking stereotypes is not just about changing the minds of the people in that classroom, but about setting an example that challenges the larger societal narrative. The janitor's triumph is symbolic of all the people who are underestimated, overlooked, and mocked because they do not fit the conventional image of success. By excelling in an area where no one expected him to, the janitor becomes a symbol of resilience and hidden potential. He shows that genius can exist in the most unexpected places, and that greatness does not require a high-ranking title or prestigious job. In doing so, he liberates others who may also be trapped under the weight of stereotypes, inspiring them to believe in their own worth and abilities. The students who witness this moment are particularly impacted because they are still forming their ideas about the world and the people around them. Many of them likely carry unspoken assumptions about what success looks like or who deserves respect. Watching the janitor break those boundaries forces them to reconsider how they categorize others. It teaches them that the uniform a person wears or the job they hold does not define their intelligence or value. This moment can permanently alter how they interact with others, creating a ripple effect of greater inclusivity, empathy, and fairness. They will remember the day the janitor outsmarted the expectations of everyone in the room and proved that intelligence knows no boundaries. The teacher, too, faces the hard truth of her own prejudices. She may not have intended to be cruel, but by using the janitor as the punchline of a joke, she revealed her own acceptance of stereotypes. When the janitor succeeds, she cannot hide from the reality that she was wrong, not just in her assumptions about him, but in her broader mindset about people's potential. This is a humbling lesson, one that challenges her to rethink how she views not only the janitor, but all individuals she might have unconsciously judged in the past. Her embarrassment becomes an opportunity for growth, pushing her to rise above the stereotypes she once embraced and to become a better teacher and role model. For the janitor himself, breaking the stereotype is both vindication and empowerment. He knows what people assume about him, and he has likely faced countless instances of being overlooked or dismissed. Yet, instead of allowing those labels to define him, he quietly carries his knowledge and skills, waiting for the right moment to let his abilities speak for themselves. His triumph is not about humiliating others, but about showing that identity cannot be confined to social roles or appearances. His intelligence was always there. The world simply refused to see it until he forced them to confront it. By breaking the stereotype, he reclaims his dignity and demonstrates that true genius needs no validation. It proves itself when given the chance. This point also speaks to a universal truth. Stereotypes are prisons that limit both the people who hold them and the people they target. When we assume someone cannot do something based on their job, race, gender, or background, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to witness their true potential. The janitor's story reminds us to stop boxing people into narrow categories and instead remain open to the possibility that brilliance can come from anywhere. Every human being carries unique experiences, talents, and wisdom that cannot be seen at first glance. By breaking stereotypes, we not only free others but also free ourselves to experience the richness of human diversity. In the end, the janitor's actions become more than just a moment of surprise. They become a movement of thought. He forces everyone who saw him, and everyone who hears about his story, to think differently about how they view people. He proves that no one should ever be underestimated, and that stereotypes serve only to blind us to the truth of human potential. His quiet strength and undeniable brilliance remind us all that the greatest victories are often achieved when someone dares to defy the labels the world tries to put on them.